The two titans of Warner Brothers Pictures and Legendary Pictures, Monsterverse, face off against each other in Godzilla vs. Kong. Hey everybody, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new Warner Brothers film, Godzilla vs. Kong. You can see it in theaters. You can see it on HBO Max if you have that service for the next few weeks anyway. And this is not the wonderful Donkey Kong on my shirt. I love a good Donkey Kong, but no, this is Godzilla versus King Kong, and it's all part of this Monsterverse that Warner Brothers and Legendary have been putting together for the last decade or so. You had a couple of Godzilla movies, most recently Godzilla King of the Monsters, but then you also had Kong Skull Island, which was set in the 70s. So I was like, okay, how's this all going to come together? And it actually does. This movie, Godzilla vs. Kong, takes threads from all three of those movies. And we are set in the present day here. It's about 5 years or so after the events of King of the Monsters. And we have these two legendary titans facing off against each other for the first time in about 50 years. There was a 1962 Japanese film of a similar name, and now we bring it into the present. And, I think the timing is right for this. I think people are ready to go back to theaters. So, first of all, most theaters are now reopened. And I think, having it on HBO Max, which is where I saw it, actually, I think diminishes the end product a little bit, which we'll talk about. But this is, a good reason, I think, if you've been sort of shy about going out to theaters lately, if you're vaccinated, whatever, wear a mask and you go see it. And I think you'll be really impressed with the spectacle that is this movie. It was directed by Adam Wingard, who has, an okay track record. He did these great smaller films called You're Next and The Guest. And then he really kind of did a horrible job with that new Blair Witch movie, but I don't know if any of that was really his fault so much as, the horrible script and why we're making another Blair Witch movie and that sort of thing. But look, this is not going to be, I think one of my real long, 10, 12, 14-minute standalone reviews because, look, I get it. Nobody's coming to Dan Reviews It for the Godzilla and Kong movie. I do The Masked Singer and The Conners and my TV news and reviews, and I review Oscar nominee movies and stuff. So, look, I get it. So we're going to keep this pretty short and sweet, I think. Essentially, the basic plot of this movie is that this Apex Cybernetics is perhaps doing some shady things, and so Godzilla attacks the facility, which, Godzilla has typically been sort of helpful to people and but here he is attacking things. So another team goes out to find Kong and hope that he can lead them to this other land that is sort of under the radar, and maybe he's the only one that can help them, and et cetera. And because of that, the two monsters get into a big old clash. So the human element of this includes Alexander Skarsgård and Rebecca Hall as two scientists. You have Millie Bobby Brown, who was in the last Godzilla movie, as well as her father, played by good old Coach Taylor, Kyle Chandler. He's in this as well. I think those are the only two that sort of port over from the other movies. I could be wrong about that because I've only seen them all once. But obviously, Kong Skull Island, everybody would be very old or dead, since that took place in the 70s. But well, I don't want to give spoilers, but, some people die in the last Godzilla movie, so they don't appear here, obviously. But then we add, other characters. I mentioned Rebecca Hall and Skarsgård, but we also have Julian Dennison from Hunt for the Wilderpeople and Deadpool 2. He's in this. And Brian Tyree Henry probably has the juiciest of the human roles. He plays this podcaster named Bernie, who has all these conspiracy theories. And as we move along, he's learning, okay, so some of these theories are actually correct. And he works for the Apex Cybernetics, so, or maybe did. I don't think he does anymore. I think he's a ex-employee. But anyway, as with most of these movies, the human element is by far the weakest part of the movie. So in some of these other movies, we spent maybe too much time with the human component. And, in others, maybe they just didn't get fleshed out enough. And here, they are quite basic as well. Everybody kind of has like one or two little things that are, okay, he's the funny guy, and, she's this person, and whatever. But there's actually too many of them in this movie, and it gets too convoluted because there's actually two different human stories, and nobody comes to these movies for the human element because A, it's never done particularly well, and B, when you have a movie called Godzilla versus Kong, you're coming specifically, for the most part, for the monster fights. So the human element is okay here. It's better than I've seen it in some, but there's too much going on. And the Julian Dennison character is also supposed to be sort of comic relief. So why is he even necessary? And I like him; he's a good actor. But Brian Tyree Henry is doing most of that sort of heavy lifting anyway in the humor department. So that's fine. Leave it there. But it just gets too convoluted. And the plot sort of makes sense that they would need a lot of people, but I think they could have diluted the plot a bit to focus on the monsters fighting. So let's get there, because that's all really the positive stuff, is the monsters. They look great. Kong is much bigger than he was in the Skull Island movie, which makes sense because he would have grown over the last, 50 years. And so he's, Godzilla sized at this point, and their fights are awesome. The last half of the movie, or maybe less, is almost all fights, and that's what people come for. So they have this nice kind of build up the first maybe hour of the movie. And by the way, timing wise, it's just under 2 hours, which for these movies is actually kind of short. And I appreciated that. Some of these other movies are a bit longer, and I have seen all three of the other ones in theaters. This one I didn't get to because I usually go to the theater on the weekends now, try and support the theater business. But I was home for Easter this weekend, so I was like, all right, well, I have HBO Max. I'll just watch it before Easter. And that turned out to be maybe a mistake. Not a mistake, but I could tell it would look so great and grand on the big screen, or even IMAX or something, that on and I don't have a big TV. My little TV, I don't think could contain all of the greatness of this movie. And but the fights are great. The color is very eye-popping. There is a great use of color in this film between the buildings and the monsters themselves, and just random things that come up, water droplets or whatever. There's a great use of color in this movie, so I really appreciated that. So overall, look, like I said, I know you're not coming to my channel for Godzilla content. I'm not the Godzilla dude. I get it. So I think we'll end it there. But overall, I think this has a nice place in the Monsterverse. I've always been more of a King Kong fan myself, because I think those are more emotional stories. I really like Skull Island. I think that's the best of the series, and still, even including this, I think it's the best of the series. But I think this one is another very good installment. I think, it sort of doesn't improve on a lot of the errors made by the previous films, but I think what it does improve on is fights that we genuinely are interested in seeing. And, oh, how cool is it to see this character? No spoilers, but they give us, one of the classics here as well. Even above and beyond your Godzilla and Kong. So overall, I give this movie a B, which is, I think, what I gave King of the Monsters as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think Skull Island was a B+. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you back here next time.